Welcome back to the build series. I've been driving the car around for the last couple of months, enjoying it before it gets too cold here in Lexington, Kentucky. I've run into a few issues with the car. So one of the issues I had was the car was slowly drinking coolant. Every week I'd have to add like an inch or two to the fill line of the bottle down here. And nothing was dripping on the ground, there was no white smoke, it wasn't burning up. We couldn't quite find out what the issue was. But then, when I was under the car last, I saw there was some coolant on the frame and underneath the engine, and it was in fact slowly leaking. There's that red silicone hose, that's a coolant hose, and it was leaking right there at the connection to that hard metal pipe. So I slid the hose on further, clamped it down. That seems to have fixed my slow coolant leak that I could not track down for the last few months. So I was underneath the car because I had a bigger issue. Recently my car started breaking up under full throttle. It was kind of hesitating and stuttering. So I had smoke tested the engine, thinking that was a vacuum leak. I'll show you a little clip here of me smoke testing the engine. And I have a longer video on how to do it in a step-by-step if you want to watch that. But I'll just show you a little bit here. And at the end of the smoke test, I found that I had no vacuum leaks and no boost leaks. So that was good, but I still had not solved my problem. I did get a check engine light eventually from the stuttering that said misfire on cylinder 3, and then that led me to check the ignition coils. So I could have replaced just that cylinder's ignition coil, but these had 90,000 miles on them, and I don't know how this engine lived the last 15 years. So I went ahead and just replaced all 4. And I found that one of my ignition coil connectors was broken. I have a video on how to replace all the ignition coils in more detail, but again, I'll just show you a little piece on how I did it here. I'm replacing these because my car was shaking under full throttle, and eventually it threw a check engine light that said misfire on cylinder 3. When I got my engine, the previous owner had zip tied the connectors on because they were both broken. But we're going to take care of that today. You can now undo the one bolt holding each ignition coil in. And we're going to do all this again on the black connector, which is in even worse shape. Remove the retaining clip. Unlock the wires with a small screwdriver and pull them out the back of the plug. I'll push these connectors on and then take the car for a test drive and see if my problem's solved. And then I took the car for a drive to see if my problem was solved, and it was. So that was great news. My car was running good enough that I could take it to a Cars and Coffee and show it off, which is a lot of fun because this car gets so many questions at Cars and Coffee. It's kind of funny to hear the same questions over and over. I don't blame anybody for asking them, but number one by far is, what is it? I've gotten everything from a Fiero with a body kit to a Miata with a body kit. Nobody really guesses kit car. Rarely do they guess it's a Factory 5, but a lot of people have heard of Factory 5 just for the Cobras and Daytona Coupes mainly. Another common question is that a Subaru motor? Or what kind of motor is that? It's kind of 50-50 people guessing it. It is kind of a distinctive motor with the intercooler on top, so that does give it away. Another common question is, what frame does it sit on? What car frame is this? I have to explain how it came with the kit, and it's its own frame. It's a Factory 5 design. It's not a body sitting on an old Altima or Miata or something like that. Everybody thinks this is just a body kit. And for some of the young kids that are like 5 and 6, I usually let them sit in the car, which they seem to find fun, since at car shows, the mentality is don't touch the car if it's not yours. So they find it fun that they actually get to do something and hop in a car. I tell them to pull the steering wheel off, which they find funny. They grab both the paddles and pull back, and they're amazed when the steering wheel actually does pop off. They don't think it's actually going to happen. So it's kind of fun just to watch their reaction. A couple small issues that have popped up is I've noticed that the back glass likes to lift. So after driving on the highway at 70 miles per hour, 80 miles per hour, I think the wind gets just under this lip a little bit and it pulls it up. So every once in a while you can go around and you can push it back down It doesn't really seal that well against the rubber seal down there. This gap right here has gotten tighter, so I think the whole hatch has migrated down a little bit. Makes it kind of hard to open the trunk. Helps if you push down right here. It's rubbing on the inside lip right here, so I'll need to adjust that a little bit, push the whole hatch up. I've also noticed that if I fill the gas tank all the way or top it off at all, my car will be dripping fuel when I pull it back in the garage. So originally I thought I had a loose connection somewhere in the fill hose or something like that. Turns out it's just my homemade charcoal canister. So this black cylinder right here. And if you look, the bottom hose comes from the gas tank to vent air out and back in. And the top hose just kind of dumps down there. That's where the air is allowed to be relieved and sucked back in to equalize the pressure in the gas tank. I think because this top hose is slightly lower than the fill hose, it's overflowing with fuel if it's completely topped off. So I'm going to have to remount that charcoal canister just a little bit higher so fuel can't get into that top line. And it'll stop dripping that extra few ounces out. It's not much fuel. It'll drip for like an hour, but it's nothing. It doesn't amount to much. But the garage does stink. You can tell it's leaking fuel. So for now, I've been not topping off the fuel tank all the way. So yeah, I've just been really enjoying driving the car around for the last few months. It's getting cold here now, so I'll probably go back into my building phase and finish the interior. I'll have some more updates for you guys. But thanks for checking out my video, and hope to see you next month. Bye.